all the orders on scrutiny will be complied with, and a few issues arose which we agreed that I will present before you for your further guidance. In relation to the second order that the court gave, that is the order in relation to access to the servers, we would wish to get a clarification from the court as to whether that order is to be taken to mean a read-only access. That is for the obvious reasons that might come with the order that goes beyond a read-only access. In relation to order number 5, the court did direct that we avail ballot boxes in relation to a number of polling stations. Now, reading through the polling stations that have been identified, some of them are actually polling centers as opposed to polling stations. So we wanted to get a clarification as to whether where you indicate a name that refers to a polling center, then it, as of necessity, also means that we are talking about ballot boxes from the center and not from the polling station. In relation to order number 7, that is touching on the Form 32As, these forms, my lady and my lord, is supposed to be kept in the ballot boxes after close of polling in the respective stations. It then follows that if we are to avail them, then we may need a further order that we can open those boxes and avail the specific Form 32As. We wanted that clarification. Finally, as part of compliance with the very strict timelines that the court has given in relation to the scrutiny, we did write to the registrar of the court so that following that order number 7, the part that says that the IBC should provide certified copies of Form 32A and 34C Book 2 used in the impugned elections, subject to the applicants providing to the IBC specific contested polling stations for compliance thereof. We did write to the registrar this afternoon when we left court, and we requested that the applicants then avail those contested polling stations, possibly by close of business today, to enable us comply. But for the comfort of the court, I would want to just echo what my learned senior counsel, Githu Muigai, did indicate. We have commenced the process of compliance, particularly with the ICT component. I'm most obliged.
With your kind permission, my ladies and my lords, the application was my application.
My lady, sorry for that. I've just been reminded by my learned senior counsel lead, Professor Githu Muigai, that again, in relation to the question of representation, we do not want to reopen it. But when you gave the order in relation to the specific commissioners, you mentioned Professor Gulier, you mentioned Commissioner Molu. Their counsel are not in court today. For clarity, we wanted to just mention that they will have their counsel, subject to your directions, appear in court tomorrow. One for each, as indicated in the order. I'm most obliged.
My lady, Lady Chief Justice, the Supreme Court judges, my name is Professor Jakoya, a presidential candidate.
Professor Jakoya, please, we have an issue on the floor. Would you wait until we address these issues? Then we can come back to you, please.
Thank you. Please. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Otieno.
Prayer number 4 that you've granted in the morning, my lords and my ladies, In our application, we had requested for Form 34A's Book 2 of 2, but in your directions, I believe it was misspelled. It was indicated as Form 34C Book 2. So maybe when you give directions, you can clarify that's Book 34A, so it's Forms 34A Book 2, not 34C. That's all.
Your Ladyship, the Chief Justice, members of this court, we wish to draw your attention to prayer number 2, where you directed that IEBC be compelled to give applicants supervised access to any servers in the National Tallying Center. We request that agents of the first and the second respondent be allowed to be present when that exercise is undertaken. That is our humble request.
Yes, may it please you, Madam Chief Justice, my lords and ladies. Just a clarification. My name is Paul Mwangi for the first and second petitioner in petition number 5. First, in respect of the orders of the court in paragraph 7, in number 7, I think the order was supposed to read from 32A and from 34A, because what was contested were the documents that were to be inside the ballot paper, so 34C would be a mistake. In respect of the contested polling stations, we have received a letter this afternoon from the lawyers from IEBC, and we shall be responding by close of business, giving the list of the polling stations that we have contested. They are all borne in the petition, and we shall be laying them out in a letter. In respect of the clarification as to the opening of ballot boxes, I believe that would definitely be implied in the order of the court, that if the court were to ask that we gain access, that would imply a permission to open the ballot boxes. In respect of the polling stations that are turning out to be polling centers, I think that has been a common mistake as to when it's a polling station, a polling center. Our position should be that if it has been described as a polling center, then the order would relate to all the polling stations in that center. And lastly, in respect of the access, this court has said that we are to have supervised access. And then the question would not be whether it will be described that read only. We are to obtain all the necessary access to do an audit of the information that is needed, so long as it is supervised. That is all.
Thank you. I will request the Honorable Mr. Justice Lenaura to respond to those issues on behalf of the court.
Thank you very much, Judge President. Let me begin from the last issue, Mr. Mwangi. Indeed, it is polling stations. Following Minor Kiai, anything to be done must begin from the polling station. So where there's a reference to Belgut polling center, it refers to the polling station. So again, that should be the reference that you're talking about. So let's follow that direction. On the question of contested polling stations, I think that's resolved. You will give the list to the registrar and to the applicants and to the IEBC by close of business today. On prayer number 7, that is a typo. The reference is to forms 32As and 34As, not 34Cs. 34Cs is so it's 34A. And so we amend the direction to read that. On the server, Mr. Kilukumi, I think I don't have the orders here, but the last order allowed 2 agents from every interested party to appear at the centers, whether it is at Forodha House or at IBC, and that resolves Mr. Katwa Kigen's question on venue. I think from the orders, you can only have 2 venues, one at IEBC and one at Forodha House, where the Section 12 documents are. So I think can resolve that also. Mr. Kilukumi, you can send your agents to work with the registrar and the ICT staff of the judiciary. On the question of supervised or read-only access, the ruling was specific. It is not read-only access. It is supervised access. So when you send your IT people to the servers, the IBC will understand it is supervised access, which is quite different from read-only access, which was the 2017 situation. So please allow them supervised access, which has a different meaning in IT language. What was the other issue? 34, yes, Mr. Mwangi, it is correct. Again, the error was on the book 2, should be the book 2 of 34As, and that has a specific order as to what you do with it. Compliance is by today for the polling station that you're supposed to give. But remember also, one, the question of security, and I think that will be addressed by IBC, and that I think as Chief Justice resolves all the issues that were raised by the parties, unless I've left any. I don't think I have. I think I've addressed all, have I? Yes, I have. Thank you very much, Chief Justice.
Thank you. There was an issue being raised by Professor Wanjakoya, although I gave directions. I don't know what you wanted to tell the court.
Lady Chief Justice, members of the Supreme Court, I would like to take this opportunity by thanking you, because this is my first time to address the Supreme Court in this country, given the fact that I practice in other jurisdictions. Now, the ball of contention is, and I know, Your Honor, you have already addressed the issue, the ball of contention is, I'm a presidential candidate. I was in this room this morning. My counsels were refused to come, made a ruling apportioning the number of lawyers that were supposed to come in here, which is okay. But what I want to beg or to pray is that I pray to be given some opportunity, probably under your discretion, so that I can also be enjoined to speak through my counsel on case number 7, of which I was enjoined as an interested party. I've already submitted my responses, and in this room and in the absence of Raila Amolo Odinga and Honorable Ruto, I think I'm the most aggrieved person here, despite the fact that we have also other interested parties. You should also take cognizance that I've run for election in this country. I've traversed this country. I am very seriously injured